Alright, so I bought this box set a few months ago, and I figured it's time to start going through these movies. I just finished the Transformers movies, so time for a new franchise. Let's see how far I can get before February comes. We are starting with the original, The Omen, from 1976, starring Gregory Peck, and directed, I like to say it like this, Gregory Peck. I don't know why. It doesn't even talk like that, but I just, Gregory Peck. That's how I say it. Directed by Richard Donner, who would go on to direct Superman, Lethal Weapon, and The Goonies. In this, right from the get-go, you start the film, and you get that iconic score. Oh, man, little more. Oh, I don't know the actual words, but it's very creepy, very scary. But watching this, okay, so I have to admit, like most of horror films that have remakes, I've seen the remake before the original. Well, I mean not most, but like a lot of ones that I have. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. So I'm watching through this, and I'm thinking, this is almost exactly shot for shot with some differences. This movie better. Much better. You have the score. You have Gregory Peck's fantastic performance. Also, you have David Troughton, or Patrick Troughton. I don't want to call him David. Patrick Troughton, was Doctor Who. He was the second Doctor on Doctor Who. So that's pretty cool. And you have David Warner. That's where it is. David Warner, who was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and was the voice of the Lobe on Freakazoid. But he's in this, and he's good. And the death scenes. Like, I'm not going to try to compare to the remake, because I can do my own, original versus remake video eventually. But, yeah, so the death scenes are good in this. You have the priest, Brennan. He gets impaled by the pole, but it's practical here, and it looks fantastic. And then you got Jennings getting his head cut off. And you have the scene where the mother is killed. She's pushed out the window by that bitch. And it's more unsettling in this film, especially with the score. So what is the story? I gotta go with the story. The story is, on the day of their child's birth, Robert Thorne finds out that his child died in childbirth. And so he is told by one of the fathers, the priest, there that there's another child that they can substitute, and he doesn't have to tell his wife anything about it. So they do that. And then a priest tries to warn him, your son, that's, whatever. I think that's later. But 5 years pass, and now strange things start to occur. The nanny responsible for taking care of him, it's the infamous scene where she hangs up, Damien, it's all for you, Damien, and she hangs herself. And the strange dogs start showing up, a Rottweiler. And then they get a new nanny, which neither of them remember hiring. So they ask her, and she covers her ass by saying it was the agency that sent her. But then that is where you call the agency and ask them. They just take her word for it. And I will say that this is the one thing that I thought was just might be a little bit better in the remake. Mia Farrow sold it. Nothing wrong with the lady here, but I like Mia Farrow better. She's more creepy, but she's very good in this too. And then you have people trying to convince Robert of what's going on. You have the priest, Brennan, telling him, your son is the Antichrist and he has to accept Jesus. Now, he's told this, and then immediately they try to go to church for a wedding, and the kid freaks out. Now, if this was me, I was just told my son was the Antichrist. And my son freaked out before we got inside the church. You think maybe 2 and 2 equals 4 here? But no, he ignores it, because it's a horror movie, and we gotta have horror movie characters be stupid. In fact, that's one of the negatives I have about this film, is that it's one of those stereotypical horror things. You don't believe that what's happening is happening until the climax, when it counts. Because that's how you have to write a horror movie. Oh, we can't have him believe until it's time for the climax, and things start going, all the dominoes start to fall in place. We have to have him doubt it through the whole movie. That happens in a lot of horror movies. It's a staple, and yeah, Gregory Peck is fantastic in this film. I think he does a great job, as this guy who, he's just trying to live his life. He's trying to protect his son as well, even though he knows it's not his son. And eventually, Jennings, played by David Warner, after Brennan is killed, Jennings comes to talk to him, and he starts showing him these pictures. And this is where it gets creepy, because they kind of borrow/stole this for Final Destination 3, but there's signs, there's a pole, it was gun, there was a noose or something hung around the nanny's neck during the pictures at the birthday party, and then you take pictures of Father Brennan, and you see that there's a pole, and each picture it comes closer and closer to him, and the day that he died is almost right through him. And then we see that there's also one of Jennings with something going across his neck, a line or something across his neck. So he's gonna die too. And so the one question I have is, who is doing this? Because this, and from what I read, the sequel is it's supposed to be under the influence that Damien doesn't know he's doing this, right? The scene, and I like this scene too. There's the scene where the mom gets knocked up the staircase. He's in his room going round and round and round and round on his tricycle, and then the nanny lady, she opens up the door, and he comes out, and he just boom, barrels over, knocks her over. She falls down, and it's just after she reveals she's pregnant again. And I'm sorry, I hate this when they do this in movies, because it does not actually happen. When you fall, you do not turn. At least you can move around when you fall. But she goes, she basically goes as she falls. And your body doesn't do that. Your body wouldn't go, whoop. No, you go, your weight would move you in one direction, not just. Now, if she was more pregnant than she was, then yes, maybe that weight would make her go. But she had just found out she was pregnant. So she's maybe over a month, maybe 2. She wasn't even showing yet. That's the only thing in this film I thought looked stupid, was when she fell flat. Because, we have to have her, land on the stomach so she could lose the baby. Because stuff. Now, I'm nitpicking here, because this movie is not a terrible movie at all. I think it is great. I especially like the scene where they're excavating in Rome and they're digging up, they find Damien's mother and it's a jackal. So they dig up he wants to dig up the next one because he wants to make sure maybe, his child's still out there. But they find a baby skeleton, an infant skeleton with a hole in the head, which means that their child was murdered and they did it on purpose. That's just terrible. And the death scene of the wife. She gets told, hey, you need to get out of there. Tom, whoever the hell Tom is coming to get you. Okay, she starts to she has to change her clothes, whatever. And all of a sudden she hears a noise and she goes, Tom. She turns around and it's the nanny. Nanny pushed her out the window and she's dead. Her wife is killed. And okay, I'm always against the evil wins ending of a horror film because I feel like that's lazy writing, right? If you just say, oh, no, evil wins. So that means nothing anyone does in the film is going to amount to shit. Because it doesn't matter what anyone does, evil's still going to win because you have that ending already put ahead. That when you're writing a film, oh, evil's going to win. We got to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. Maybe you come up with the ending later, but yeah, evil wins. Because due to how he's driving, Robert, he's told that he has to have there's these 7 daggers of Migia, and he has to stab Damien with one of them to finish it off. Well, due to his driving and the kicking and screaming of the kid, the cops show up and they shoot him, killing him dead, and then Damien is given to his godparent, which is the President of the United States, which, from what I read, the second one is ignored. But, or it could have been temporary. Who knows? They might explain it. But yeah, this film is great. It's got a good atmosphere. The score by Jerry Goldsmith is great. It's very creepy. It sets the mood, and it works with the rest of the film. The acting is also fantastic, from Gregory Peck to the other actors, Patrick Troughton, David Warner. Great, although I don't like David Warner's little hair he has. He's a little bob, but it's the 70s, so you gotta give it up. You gotta forget that. As it stands, this is a great classic horror film. If I ever redo my top 10 classic horror films, this will probably be on there. But I can't help but notice when I was watching this, I'm like, wait a minute, that's in a remake. That's in that almost everything is in the remake, but it's done much better here. Much better here. Richard Donner knows his stuff. And that's why I'm giving The Omen a 9 out of 10. Mwah. So, what are your thoughts on The Omen? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. See you in the next one.